Locate the bulb you intend to replace.
There are two bulbs on this side that need to be replaced.
Remove the panel. Remove the rivets.
There are 13 rivets that need to be removed.
Pry up the center of the rivet first. This will unlock it. Next, pry up the base of the fastener.
The steps needed to access the other side are the same as this side. We recommend changing your bulbs in pairs. If one bulb is burnt out, its counterpart bulb is likely near the end of its life as well. Bulbs get dimmer by 20% over time, which is another great reason to change both bulbs at once.
Pull the panel to remove it.
Turn the wheel to give yourself better access to the lining.
Remove the bolts by turning them counterclockwise.
Pull away the wheel well lining for access to the bulb assembly. The wheel well lining can be pretty rigid and sometimes sharp, so it's a good idea to have a pair of gloves before attempting this repair. Remove the last bolt. We recommend wearing gloves when changing your lights. The oils on your fingers can create hot spots and cause the bulb to burn out prematurely.
Remove the Torx bolt by turning it counterclockwise.
We got those bolts out. We're going to look here where it attaches. This comes straight back. So you can get in here and just kind of pull straight back. If you're having trouble, use a plastic panel puller and kind of help you pry this out here. It does kind of help if you lift up and pull out at the same time like that. So now we can see the bumper is kind of back far enough here, and then we can basically go for the bolts that secure this housing to the vehicle. So
pry up the center of the rivet first. This will unlock it. Next, pry up the base of the fastener. Remove the bolts by turning them counterclockwise.
There's still one more bolt that needs to be removed.
So now we have all the bolts out on the housing. So what you're going to want to do is kind of slide it back, and you do have to kind of lift up a little bit over here as you're sliding it back. But basically we're going to slide it back as far as we can here. Now what that's going to do is allow us to access the connector here a little bit easier. So we're going to disconnect the housing at this point. You got to push the red tab and then pull the connector off. Again, we'll get a close-up on that for you so you can see it. So now that that's disconnected, we can kind of pull back on the bumper here, and we should be able to kind of slide this out. Now, just be careful when you're doing this. At one point here, we can only get it back this far. What you have to look for is, you can kind of see it down here, and you can also see it kind of through the wheel well here. There is a cable, or a wiring harness rather, that is connected to this that you basically just need to pop off. It's not a wiring harness for this housing. It's basically just a wiring harness for, I believe it's the fog light, but the actual wire itself is connected here. This whole housing should be disconnected once you pop that wiring harness off, and then again, we can kind of just pull back, make sure it's not getting caught up on the bumper and whatnot, and then this should just kind of pop out for us here. If you're having trouble doing this, it may help if you have another person holding the bumper back. This right here is kind of what the fastener looks like that connects to the back of the headlight housing. You can see it's just kind of this cable here, and then this fastener kind of goes into that little hole in the back of the headlight housing there.
Our research indicates that this vehicle is equipped with LED lights. In order to replace the intended bulb, you must replace the entire housing. It is uncommon for LED bulbs to burn out. We recommend checking the fuses before attempting to replace the housing.
We're going to bring the housing back in. Now, my suggestion is to kind of go in like this, and once you kind of get this part in, you can kind of just start to twist it and get it into place here. Any way that you can get it in here, it doesn't really matter. We just want to basically get it in here and get it kind of into place. It can kind of get caught up over here, so you might have to kind of just come down here and wiggle it in there. Once you kind of have it into place, before you push it all the way in, you're going to want to come in here and reconnect that wiring harness that was connected. So just pop that back on real quick, like so. And then you're going to want to come in here and pop the connector back on to connect the housing, lock it into place. At this point, we can kind of just continue to get the housing back up into place here. And then it should be kind of set there and ready to go to put the bolts back in.
Align the base of the rivet first. Next, push down on the center to lock it in place. Replace the bolts by turning them clockwise. Considering the amount of effort required to access the bulb assembly, we recommend replacing both sides at once.
Make sure the bulb housing is secure.
So when we want to bring this back up into position, it kind of goes into part of the housing here as well as the side of the car. I would kind of start on the inside here and just make sure we kind of lift this part back up into place, kind of push that in there. And then if you come over here, we can see this is already kind of lined up and everything. You might have to kind of realign it a little bit, and everything should kind of just pop back into place.
Replace the Torx bolt by turning it clockwise. Replace the bolt by turning it clockwise. Replace the wheel well lining. Tuck the lining behind the lip of the bumper. Replace the bolts by turning them clockwise. Align the panel with the body before securing it to the vehicle. It's important to make sure it's set properly, otherwise it won't attach correctly. Replace the rivets. Align the base of the rivet first. Next, push down on the center to lock it in place.
Make sure the assembly is tight and secure.